Today, as you face life's challenges, remember this profound truth. God is with you, always. He sees your heart, your pain, your doubts, and your hopes. In the midst of your struggles, He stands as your unwavering strength, guiding you with love and grace. No matter what you're walking through today, trust that God knows exactly what you need, even when you can't find the words. He has a plan for you, a purpose beyond your current circumstances. But here's the mystery. What if the struggle you're facing today is the very thing God is using to prepare you for a victory you can't yet imagine? Here are verses from Psalm chapter 34 that emphasize God's awareness of our struggles and His care for us. These verses highlight how God is fully aware of our struggles, draws near in our times of distress, and faithfully delivers those who seek Him. Verse 6. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. Verse 17. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. Verse 18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. Verse 15. The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous and His ears toward their cry. Verse 22. The Lord redeems the life of His servants. None of those who take refuge in Him will be condemned. Verse 10. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. In Psalm chapter 34, we are reminded that God intimately knows our struggles and is always near to us in times of distress. The psalm emphasizes that when we are brokenhearted or facing difficulties, God hears our cries and is ready to deliver us. Even though righteous people may face many afflictions, God promises to rescue them from all of them. The verses also highlight God's watchful eye over those who seek Him, assuring us that He will provide and protect us. God is not distant or indifferent to our pain, but rather present and actively working for our good. In moments of trial, we can take comfort in knowing that He sees us and is deeply involved in our lives. His faithfulness guarantees that, no matter how tough our circumstances, we are never alone, and His deliverance is certain for those who trust in Him. Ultimately, this chapter reveals a God who is both compassionate and powerful, ever ready to offer His help and salvation. No matter how impossible our struggles may seem, God's provision and care remain constant, proving that His love never fails. Here are 7 ways God's awareness of our struggles is expressed in Psalm chapter 34. These verses remind us that no matter how deep our pain or difficult our circumstances, God is always aware of our struggles and is faithful to provide comfort, deliverance, and care. He does not distance Himself from us in our time of need, but rather draws near to offer His help and protection. The number 1. God hears our cry. Psalm 34 verse 6. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. God listens to our cries and responds, providing deliverance from our troubles. In life, we often encounter moments of deep distress, times when the weight of our burdens feels overwhelming and the pain is too much to bear. During such moments, it's easy to feel like no one understands or that no one is listening. But Psalm 34 verse 6 offers us a powerful reminder that God hears us. He is attentive to our cries, no matter how small or insignificant they may seem. The verse begins by identifying the person crying out as a poor man. This shows that God listens not only to the rich or powerful, but to all who are in need, whether in financial poverty, emotional distress, or spiritual longing. God's care is impartial. He doesn't ignore the cries of the brokenhearted or the weary. Rather, He hears and responds. When we cry out to God, we are not speaking into the void. He is not distant or uninvolved. He is listening intently, and His response is both compassionate and action-oriented. The verse reminds us that God doesn't just hear our cry, He acts. He saves us from our troubles, delivering us from circumstances that seem too difficult to overcome on our own. Imagine being caught in a storm, helpless and frightened, but then being pulled into the safety of shelter. That's what God's salvation feels like. Rescue from the dangers and distress that threaten to overwhelm us. His response to our cry isn't just comfort, it's deliverance. The assurance that God hears our cry brings comfort to our hearts. It reminds us that we are not abandoned, that our voices do not go unheard. God is present, and He is actively working on our behalf. Even when we cannot see the way forward, we can trust that He is already at work, bringing us closer to safety and peace. So, whenever you find yourself in distress, remember, God hears your cry. He sees your pain, and He promises to deliver you. Trust that He will save you, not just from physical troubles, but from the inner turmoil that tries to weigh you down. With God, you are never alone in your struggles. The number 2, God delivers us in times of need. Psalm 34 verse 17. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of all their troubles. In our distress, God not only hears, but actively delivers us from our struggles. There are times in life when we feel trapped in difficult circumstances, times when the weight of our troubles feels unbearable, and it seems like there is no way out. In these moments, we often cry out for help, seeking relief from the pain or burden we are carrying. Psalm 34 verse 17 offers a powerful reminder that when we cry for help, God hears us and actively intervenes to deliver us from our struggles. The verse starts with "when the righteous cry for help," emphasizing that God's response is not based on our perfection or worthiness, but on His love and faithfulness. The righteous, in this context, are those who trust in God and seek His help in times of need. God does not abandon His people. Rather, He is always ready to hear their cries and act on their behalf. When we cry out to God, it's not just an expression of distress. It's an invitation for Him to move in our lives. God is not a distant observer. He is an active participant in our story. He hears our cries and responds with deliverance. His deliverance isn't just a temporary fix. It's a thorough rescue from the troubles that have caused us pain and distress. Picture a person drowning in a stormy sea, struggling to stay afloat. Just when it seems like they can't hold on any longer, a lifeboat arrives to pull them to safety. That's the kind of deliverance God promises. He doesn't just stand by and watch us struggle. He comes to our aid, pulling us out of the depths and providing us with the strength to overcome. God's deliverance isn't just physical. It also extends to emotional and spiritual rescue. Whether we are facing external pressures, internal fears, or spiritual battles, God is able to deliver us from every form of trouble. His deliverance brings peace and restoration, giving us the confidence to continue moving forward. In times of distress, remember this promise. God hears your cry, and He will deliver you. No matter what you are facing, you are not abandoned. Trust in His timing, and be assured that He will provide the help you need to overcome your troubles. The number 3, God is near to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34 verse 18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. God draws near to those who are hurting, offering comfort and salvation. Life often brings pain and heartache, times when our spirits feel crushed and our hearts are broken. Whether from the loss of a loved one, a deep disappointment, or a personal failure, these moments can leave us feeling isolated and vulnerable. In such times, Psalm 34 verse 18 reminds us of a powerful truth. God is near to the brokenhearted. When we are hurting, it may feel as though the world is indifferent to our pain. We might question whether anyone truly understands the depth of our sorrow. But this verse assures us that God is not distant or unaffected by our suffering. He draws near to us in our pain, offering us His presence and comfort. The term brokenhearted here refers to those who are emotionally wounded, those whose hearts have been shattered by grief, loss, or disappointment. God doesn't shy away from our pain. Rather, He enters into it with us, providing the healing and solace we desperately need. In our vulnerability, God is near, offering His love and understanding in a way that no one else can. The verse goes further to say that God saves the crushed in spirit. This is not just a promise of emotional comfort, but also of spiritual restoration. When our spirits feel crushed, when we are weighed down by despair or hopelessness, God doesn't leave us in that state. He saves us, lifting us from the depths of our despair and bringing renewal to our hearts and souls. His salvation brings peace, joy, and the strength to move forward. Think of a child who has fallen and is hurt, seeking comfort from a parent. The parent doesn't simply observe the child's pain from afar, but draws near, offering comfort, healing, and reassurance. This is how God comes to us in our brokenness, drawing near to heal and restore us. Whenever you are facing heartbreak or a crushed spirit, remember that God is near. He understands your pain and is ready to offer you comfort and salvation. You are not alone in your suffering. God is with you, bringing hope and healing in the midst of your distress. The number 4. God delivers the righteous from many afflictions. Psalm 34 verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. Despite facing many trials, God faithfully delivers those who seek him. Life is filled with challenges and hardships, and even the righteous, those who seek to live according to God's will, are not exempt from suffering. Psalm 34 verse 19 acknowledges that many are the afflictions of the righteous, reminding us that trials, difficulties, and afflictions are a part of life, even for those who strive to live faithfully. The word many emphasizes the reality that we will face numerous challenges throughout our lives. It may feel at times like the trials never end, and that the weight of our struggles is too much to bear. But this verse also brings a comforting assurance. Though the afflictions are many, God delivers the righteous from them all. God's deliverance is not just an occasional rescue. It is a consistent promise. He doesn't leave us to face our troubles alone. Instead, he faithfully intervenes, providing the strength, wisdom, and help we need to overcome every affliction we face. His deliverance is thorough, not partial. The verse declares that God delivers his people out of them all. No matter how great or small the affliction, God is able and willing to bring us through it. Imagine a person facing a series of storms, each one stronger than the last. With each new storm, they seem to be overwhelmed, yet a steady hand reaches out, guiding them through each wave. That hand represents God's faithful deliverance. No storm is too powerful for him, and no affliction is beyond his ability to deliver us from. This verse doesn't promise that we won't face difficulties or that life will always be easy. Instead, it reassures us that, even in the face of many trials, God's faithfulness remains. He sees our struggles and is actively at work to bring us through them, no matter how intense they may seem. When we are facing trials, we can find hope in this promise. God will deliver us. He is with us in our afflictions, and his faithful presence will carry us through to the other side. We may not know when or how our deliverance will come, but we can trust that God is faithful to fulfill his promises. The number 5. God's eyes and ears are always toward us. Psalm 34 verse 15. The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous and his ears toward their cry. God is constantly aware of our situation, watching over us and listening to our prayers. In the busyness and chaos of life, it can sometimes feel as though no one is paying attention to our struggles and that our cries for help go unnoticed. But Psalm 34 verse 15 assures us that God is always aware of our situation. His eyes are constantly watching over us, and his ears are always attuned to our cries. This verse paints a powerful picture of God's attentiveness. The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, suggests that God is not indifferent or distant. He is actively observing, ensuring that his people are cared for and protected. No detail of our lives escapes his notice. Whether we are experiencing joy, sorrow, triumph, or defeat, God is fully aware of what we are going through. Similarly, the verse says, his ears toward their cry, highlighting that God is not just aware of our circumstances, but is also listening intently to our prayers and pleas for help. When we cry out to God, we are not speaking into silence. He is always ready to hear and respond. Our cries do not fall on deaf ears. God hears us and is actively involved in our lives, responding to our needs. Imagine a parent who watches over their child, making sure they are safe and cared for. The parent is always aware of their child's needs, watching them, listening to their requests, and stepping in to help when needed. This is how God watches over us. His eyes are constantly on us, and his ears are always open to our cries. No matter what you are facing, take comfort in knowing that God is never unaware of your situation. He is always present, watching over you with loving care and listening to every prayer you offer. You are never alone, and your struggles are never unnoticed. God's eyes and ears are always toward you, offering protection, guidance, and comfort in every season of life. The number 6. God redeems his servants. Psalm 34 verse 22. The Lord redeems the life of his servants. None of those who take refuge in him will be condemned. God offers redemption to his servants, ensuring that those who trust in him are saved. In a world filled with uncertainty, one of the most comforting promises we can hold on to is the assurance of God's redemption. Psalm 34 verse 22 reminds us that the Lord is committed to redeeming the lives of his servants. His redemption is a powerful act of salvation that frees us from the consequences of sin and guarantees our eternal security when we trust in him. To redeem something means to buy it back or rescue it from a state of loss. In the context of our relationship with God, redemption speaks of his act of saving us from sin, from the brokenness of this world, and from the ultimate separation from him. God, in his mercy and grace, offers us redemption not because of our own merit, but because of his loving kindness and the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. The verse also assures us that none of those who take refuge in him will be condemned. This is a powerful promise for those who seek refuge in God, those who turn to him for protection, salvation, and guidance. When we take refuge in God, we are shielded from condemnation. This doesn't mean that we won't face trials or difficulties, but it does mean that we are saved from eternal separation from God, which is the ultimate consequence of sin. God's redemption is a gift, one that we can never earn, but only receive through faith. Just as a person might redeem a valuable item from a pawn shop, God has redeemed us through the sacrifice of Jesus. We are no longer slaves to sin or condemned by it. Instead, we are his servants, freely given the opportunity to live in his grace and love. Think of a person whose life has been in ruins, but then someone steps in to restore them, paying the debt and making things right. That's the redemption God offers. He steps into our broken lives, pays the price for our sin, and restores us to a right relationship with him. When you place your trust in God, remember this: he has redeemed you. He offers you freedom from condemnation and eternal salvation. There is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, Romans 8 verse 1. And his redemption ensures that we are forever secure in his love. The number 7. God provides for those who seek him. Psalm 34 verse 10. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. God provides abundantly for those who seek him, ensuring they lack nothing good. In a world where people often strive to satisfy their own desires and meet their own needs, Psalm 34 verse 10 offers a powerful reminder that true provision comes from seeking the Lord. The verse contrasts the young lions, who, despite their strength and power, suffer from hunger and want, with those who seek God, who lack no good thing. The imagery of the young lions is significant. Lions are strong, mighty creatures, yet even they, in their own power, experience hunger and lack. This illustrates the truth that human effort and strength alone cannot guarantee fulfillment. No matter how much we chase after the things of this world, wealth, success, or status, these things ultimately cannot provide lasting satisfaction. In contrast, those who seek God find that he provides for them abundantly, meeting all their needs and desires in ways that are good for them. When we seek the Lord, we are not just looking for material things. We are pursuing a relationship with the Creator who knows what is best for us. God's provision is not limited to physical needs, but extends to every area of our lives: emotional, spiritual, and relational. He gives us everything we need to thrive and live according to his will. Think of a child whose parent lovingly provides not only for their basic needs, but also for their well-being, desires, and dreams. In the same way, God, as our Heavenly Father, delights in providing for us, ensuring that we lack no good thing. He knows what is best for us and is faithful to give it, whether it's guidance, peace, strength, or the material resources needed for daily life. This verse calls us to trust in God's provision and to seek him first. When we prioritize our relationship with him and seek his will above all else, we can rest assured that he will provide all that we need. Seeking the Lord brings fulfillment that cannot be found through worldly pursuits. No matter what you may be lacking today, remember that God promises to provide for those who seek him. Trust in His faithfulness, knowing that He will meet all your needs and bless you with good things according to His perfect plan. In conclusion, Psalm chapter 34 offers a powerful reminder that God is always present, attentive, and caring in our times of struggle. It reassures us that no matter how difficult our circumstances may be, God knows our pain and is actively working to bring us through. His love and faithfulness are unwavering, and He promises to deliver those who trust in Him. When we face hardship, we can find comfort in knowing that we are not alone. God's compassion and power will never fail, and He will always guide, protect, and provide for those who seek Him. Through the struggles we face, God is preparing us for greater victories, reminding us that His plan for us is beyond what we can currently imagine.